What would you do if a billionaire's daughter, silent for years, suddenly grabbed the microphone and said, "I don't have a mom"? The entire auditorium froze. Cameras pointed. Her father, one of the most powerful men in the city, sat hidden in the back, stunned. Why did she choose that moment to break her silence? And what secret about her father's heart was she about to expose? This is the story of a little girl, a teacher's quiet courage, and love that healed everything. It was a soft May morning at Westbrook Academy. Sunlight filtered through the trees, painting the schoolyard in streaks of gold. Inside the auditorium, parents shuffled into rows, clutching coffee cups and phones. Teachers stood at the edges of the stage, smiling as children lined up. A boy recited a silly rhyme about a goldfish, and laughter rippled across the room. The next sang a song about tulips, her mother wiping tears from her eyes. Then the microphone crackled. The host lifted her chin with a practiced smile. Next, from Class 1B, Ellie Carter. The room shifted. Heads tilted. Whispers stirred. Carter's girl. The quiet one. She's never said a word in class. A small figure emerged from the wings. Brown curls. Uniform neat. Shoes shiny. In her tiny hand, a folded piece of paper, creased, fragile, held like a lifeline. She reached the microphone and stood. 10 seconds passed, then 15. The silence grew heavy. Her fingers dug into the paper, crumpling its corners. Her lips parted, but no sound followed. A shuffle of feet. A cough stifled it. Ellie's shoulders shook. She turned, ready to retreat. And that was when a woman moved. From the side eye, Claire Monroe, 27, hair braided down her back, stepped forward. She didn't smile, didn't call encouragement. She placed her hand on her heart, then extended it toward Ellie, a gesture simple as breath. "I see you. I'm here." Ellie froze. Her small chest rose and fell. Slowly, she placed the paper on the podium and smoothed its wrinkles. Her voice, thin and shaky, filled the silence. "I don't have a mom." The room locked still. Parents leaned forward. Teachers swallowed hard. "My mom died when I was little." Ellie continued. "I don't remember her voice. I don't know what her hair smelled like." She gripped the podium with both hands. "I wasn't going to say anything today, but my teacher said I could tell a different story." Her eyes flicked toward Claire, then down again. "So I want to talk about my dad." Gasps fluttered across the rows. Cameras adjusted, zooming in. "My dad is important. Everyone says that. He has building. He has card." Her voice wavered. "But at home, he is quiet." Her knuckles whitened. "He doesn't read me stories. He's always on the phone. Once, I left him a drawing on the table. He saw it. He didn't ask." She swallowed. "I think he doesn't see me. Just like people don't see that my dad is sad too." A mother dabbed her eye. A father shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The air in the room changed. Ellie steadied herself. "But I like sitting in the car with him. I like when he falls asleep on the couch and carries me upstairs, even when he doesn't say anything." Her lips trembled, but she kept going. "I don't have a mom to say, 'I love you, Mom.' So today, I want to say, 'I love you, Dad. And I hope you hear me.'" The words struck like glass shattering in silence. In the farthest corner, a man sat stiff and hidden. Charles Carter, CEO, suited, polished, untouchable. His jaw locked, his eyes wet. He hadn't planned to come. 3 days earlier, he'd skimmed the email invitation, almost deleted it. He told himself his daughter wouldn't participate. He hadn't set foot in that auditorium since the funeral of his wife, 3 years ago. But now, his little girl, his silent little girl, was speaking, and each word carved into it. He felt his body twitch to flee, to escape the shame of watching her falter. But then she said it, "I don't have a mom," and his legs gave way to stone. He sat, transfixed, as his daughter's voice filled the auditorium. Not polished, not practice. Honest, fragile, beautiful. By the time she whispered, "I love you, Dad," he was already on his feet. pushing past knees and handbags, ignoring murmurs and cameras. Ellie looked up, startled. For the first time, their eyes met across the lights. Just long enough. The applause broke like thunder. First soft, then rolling, then roaring. Ellie flinched, but held her ground. Claire, at the side, lifted 2 fingers. Breathe in, breathe out. Ellie mirrored the motion. Charles reached the stage as the host thanked the audience. He didn't hear. He didn't care. He lifted his daughter into his arms. She smelled of crayons and bubble gum. He pressed his cheek against her hair, whispered into the curls where no camera could catch it. I hear you, her voice, muffled against his shoulder. You do? Yes, he breathed. I do. The auditorium faded to background. Reporters gathered near the doors, eyes hungry. A mother asked for a comment. He walked past without answering. In the lobby, his gaze swept until it found her. Claire, the teacher who hadn't spoken, who hadn't forced, who had simply stood still long enough for his daughter to find courage. By the time he reached the sidewalk, she was gone, only a glimpse of Braid disappearing into the crowd. That night, the house was quiet, too quiet. Ellie fell asleep with a faint smile tugging at her lips, thumb tucked beneath her chin. Charles sat in the hall outside her door, staring at nothing. Her words replayed. I think he doesn't see me. I hope you hear me. He picked up the forgotten drawing from his desk, a stick figure father, a little girl, a blue sun above them, 2 lines for I, touching. He hadn't understood before. Tonight, it burned clear. He opened his phone. His thumb hovered, then pressed. Miss Monroe. His voice cracked. This is Charles Carter. I'd like to meet. Privately. No cameras. I need to understand what you saw in her. There was a pause, calm and steady. Then Claire's voice. Tomorrow? Brookside Cafe. 10. Charles ended the call, staring at his trembling hands. For years, they'd signed deals, adjusted cufflink, built empire. Now, for the first time, they shook over a single question. How do I finally show up for my child? And with morning, he would find out. The next morning, the cafe on Brookside Lane smelled of cinnamon rolls and fresh coffee. Charles arrived early, restless, checking his watch too often. He hadn't felt nervous in years. Yet now, his hands tapped against the table like a boy, waiting for an exam. The bell over the door rang. Claire stepped inside, braid loose from the wind, a plain blouse tucked neatly into beige pants. She spotted him in the corner, and her smile was quiet. Not rehearsed, not for show. Mr. Carter, she said softly. Charles, he corrected, rising to greet her. They ordered tea, left untouched on the table. Silence pressed in. Finally, he cleared his throat. I wanted to thank you. For yesterday. For whatever you did with Ellie. I didn't do anything magical, Claire replied. I didn't make her speak. I only waited. He frowned. Waited. The word didn't belong in his world. He was a man of blueprints and deadline. Children don't always need fixing, she said. Sometimes they need someone who won't rush them, someone who listens long enough for them to trust. Her words landed like stones in still water. He sat back, unsettled. She's been silent since her mother died. I thought she shut down. Claire met his eyes without flinching. She didn't shut down. She shut in. The phrase sliced him open. She reached into her bag and placed a small spiral notebook on the table, its cover scribbled with stars and crooked flowers. She keeps this in her cupboard. One day, she asked me to read it. Charles hesitated, then opened the first page. The handwriting was shaky. I dream my mom is on the moon. I wave, but she doesn't see. So I wave to the stars instead. Another page. I wait for Daddy's eye, not his phone, not his hand, just his eye. His chest tightened. He shut the book slowly, afraid it might break. I never knew, he whispered. She feels everything, Claire said gently. She notices who leaves and who stay. That night, The house echoed with coughs. Ellie lay burning with fever, cheeks flushed, hair plastered to her forehead. Charles panicked, dialing numbers, leaving messages. Doctors, nurses. No one answered fast enough. Finally, he pressed the only number that mattered. "Claire, she's sick. I'm coming." She cut in. 15 minutes later, she arrived with damp hair and a bag over her shoulder. Inside were children's books, a thermometer, and a bottle of honey lemon tea. She knelt beside Ellie's bed. "My mom used to have a trick for nights like this. May I try?" Charles stepped aside. Helpless, Claire placed a cool cloth on Ellie's forehead, then began to read. Not mechanically, but with warmth, her voice wrapping the room like a blanket. Ellie's tiny hand curled around her wrist. Slowly, her breathing eased. Sweat broke across her temples, and then Claire began to hum. Charles froze in the doorway. The melody was familiar. Too familiar. It was the lullaby his late wife once sang every night. He hadn't heard it in years. Now it filled the house again, not as replacement, but as reminder. His throat burned. Something inside him shifted, terrifying and undeniable. The following week, whispers spread. Parents murmured about a teacher too close to the Carter family. Claire heard it in staff meeting. Charles heard it in boardroom, at her father's kitchen table. The tension was heavier than stone. Colonel Robert Monroe, still sharp from his military days, set down his fork. "You're seeing that man?" he said. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. A widower with a child and a house full of grief. That's not a man to build a future with. That's a man you patch up so he doesn't sink. Claire held her ground. He's not broken. He's learning to heal. The colonel stood, napkin tossed onto the plate. "You've worked too hard to tie yourself to someone else's shadow." Meanwhile, across town, Charles sat frozen at his desk. A courier had delivered an official envelope, stamped with the court seal. Inside, a petition from Ellie's grandparents. They accused him of endangering his daughter's stability by introducing a non-son, family adult into her life. His hands trembled over the page. He had built an empire, yet here he was, powerless to keep the only person that mattered. That evening, Claire arrived, pale and shaken. She held out a letter from the school board. "There's been a complaint," she whispered. "They want to review me. They want to know what I'm doing in your home. You won't lose your job. You won't lose her," Charles said, voice rough. He stepped closer. "You can't control this," she replied, eyes wet. "Not with lawyer, not with money. Not this time. I love you," he said suddenly. The words raw and unpolished. "That has to matter." Her eyes closed, tears trembling. "It matters, but it isn't the only thing that does." Before either could speak again, a voice broke through the room. Ellie stood at the bottom of the stairs, her fists clenched, cheeks flushed with fire. "Why are you talking like I'm not here?" she shouted. "Why are grown-ups always fighting over me like I'm some prize?" Both adults turned, stunned. "No one asks what I want." Ellie's voice rose, steady, fierce. "I want to be with Dad. I want to be with Miss Claire. I'm not a thing to be passed around. I'm a person." Her words shook the wall. The little girl who once couldn't whisper had just roared. Charles felt tears blur his vision. Claire pressed her hand to her mouth, trembling. The silence that followed was louder than applause. Ellie's voice had changed everything once again. But the letter on Charles's desk and the whispers in Claire's world promised that the storm was far from over. The hardest test still waited on the horizon, ready to decide if love would be enough. Claire left the house quietly. No goodbye. No explanation. Only a folded note on Charles's nightstand. "I'm not leaving because I don't care. I'm leaving because I care too much. Keep Ellie safe first. If there's still a place for me, I'll be here." Charles read the words under the dim lamp. He didn't cry. He just sat there, staring at the empty chair where she once sipped tea, the blanket she folded every morning. Ellie noticed too. She stopped humming when she colored. She skipped her bedtime story. She moved through rooms like a shadow in sneakers. One night, Charles found her by the window. her knees tucked to her chest, eyes fixed on the dark sky. "Is she coming back?" Ellie asked softly. "She needs time," he whispered. Her voice cracked. "Did I do something wrong?" "No. Never. This isn't your fault." She turned to him, eyes steady. "You were happier when she was here. I was too." The words pierced him deeper than the petition on his desk. He had failed to shield his daughter from loneliness twice now, once when her mother died, again when Claire left. The next morning, he discovered an envelope on his desk, scrawled with uneven handwriting, to Grandma and Grandpa. Inside was a letter. "I miss Mom, but I love Daddy, and I love Miss Claire. If Mommy were here, I think she'd want me happy. Please don't be mad at Daddy. He's trying really hard." Charles pressed the note against his chest. He thought of tearing it up. But Ellie mailed it herself. 2 days later, the phone rang. Her grandmother's voice broke through static. "We're sorry, Charles. We don't want a court fight. We just want to see her, and maybe meet Claire." That night, Charles told Ellie. Her face lit like morning. "Really? They're not mad anymore?" she asked. He nodded, and she dashed off to fetch the drawing she'd hidden. A picture of 3 stick figures under the sun, holding hands. A week later, Charles stood on the porch of a brick house laced with ivy. The door swung open to reveal Colonel Robert Monroe. His stare was sharp, his back unbent. They stood in silence until Charles spoke. "I didn't know how to be a father after my wife died. I thought giving Ellie everything would be enough, but it wasn't. Your daughter taught me what I was missing." The colonel's jaw tightened. "Can you promise me something?" "Anything," Charles said. "Promise you'll never be the reason she cries." Charles didn't flinch. "No, sir, I can't promise that. She will cry, but I can promise I'll be the first one there to wipe her tears. Every single time." The old soldier studied him. Then, slowly, he opened the door wide. "Come in. She's stubborn. I hope you're ready." Life didn't change with fanfare. No headline, no statement, just smaller moments stitched into day. Claire showed Ellie how to fold dumplings on Saturday. Charles walked her to school on Monday. On Sunday, they read under oak trees in the park. One evening, Colonel Monroe arrived unannounced. He stood on the threshold. Inside, Charles peeled oranges, laying each slice in Ellie's bowl. Claire draped a towel over the girl's shoulders after a nap. The colonel stepped back before they noticed him. When Claire opened the door, he said only, "That's a family in there, whether I like it or not." It wasn't warm, but it was enough. Spring returned. In the courtyard garden of Westbrook Academy, under strings of light and lavender beds, a wedding began. Guests were few. Teachers, friends, Ellie's grandparents, the colonel himself. Ellie wore a white dress with pockets, clutching a basket of petals in one hand and Claire's hand in the other. At the aisle, she let go, proud and smiling. Charles stood beneath a simple art, tie slightly crooked from Ellie's attempt to fix it. His vows weren't written. He looked into Claire's eye. "Love teaches us if we let it. I want to keep learning, with you, with her, as a family." Her reply trembled but held. "You already are." Their kiss was tender, unpolished, but real. Months later, Ellie stood at the podium of the National Youth Voices Conference, hair in a braid, eyes steady. She gripped the microphone like an anchor. "I used to be afraid to talk," she said. "But Miss Claire gave me space to breathe, and my dad gave me safety. That's how I found my voice. Now I want to help other kids find theirs." Applause thundered. The girl who once couldn't whisper now lit the stage. One golden evening, the 3 of them sat on the grass behind their home. Ellie sketched butterflies with crayon. Claire read from Charlotte's Web. Charles strummed a guitar, fumbling through chords, laughing at himself. No spotlight, no camera, just shadows leaning together in the fading sun. And if there had been a camera, it would have pulled back slowly, catching them as one silhouette. Across the screen, a line would appear. Sometimes love doesn't arrive when you expect it, but when it finally does, it heals everything. Thank you so much for spending your time with this story. if it touched your heart. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you won't miss the next one. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that love can heal. We truly appreciate your support. And until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and take gentle care of yourself.